Thank you very much for your testimony. The next primary witness is?
My name is Craig Tucker, and I'm not on the council for the Karuk tribe. I've been working for the tribe for about 10 years on this issue, and I have to apologize. One of my council members was slated to come today and had a family emergency. The Karuk tribe is the third largest federally recognized tribe in the state of California with about 4,200 members. And many Karuk still reside in Aboriginal territory, which is about 1.4 million acres in what today is Siskiyou and Humboldt counties. And about 90 miles of the Klamath River and hundreds of miles of tributaries flow through Karuk territory. The tribe was federally recognized in 1979. However, tribal oral history as well as anthropological evidence suggests the Karuks were among the first Californians. And like many of California's native people, the Karuk has suffered innumerable injustices at the hands of gold miners, and to some degree, those injustices continue today. And despite the loads of gold that are hauled out of the Klamath Basin, about 90% of Karuks who live in Aboriginal territory live below the poverty level. And that fact, coupled with the 8-hour drive, is why this chamber is not full of Karuk tribal members right now. Today, California's salmon and steelhead populations are in steep decline. Numerous recent scientific studies and news reports tell us that many species are on the brink of extinction. And although we've had several good years of Chinook runs on the Klamath River, the trend over the last several decades shows steep declines in both ESA-listed coho and Chinook salmon, which fuel the California sport fishing industry, as well as California's commercial fishing industry. For native tribes such as the Karuk, the loss of fish transcends, economics and fishing industries and sports fishing. The salmon are a cultural icon for the Karuk people. Their cultural identity is tied to the salmon. Their tribal ceremonies, their religion is based upon annual returns of salmon and steelhead and lamprey and sturgeon and other species. And many Karuk tribal members today still depend on the returns of salmon to put food on their families' tables. There are a lot of reasons, or a lot of factors that contribute to the decline of these fish populations, and tighter regulations on small-scale motorized gold mining will not by itself reverse these trends. But it is a factor we can control, and we can take action on it today, and it will make a difference. As highlighted by the persistent drought, water is our most precious natural resource, and we must ensure that what little we have left is clean and fit for fish to swim in, for humans to drink. Small-scale gold mining is almost exclusively a recreational activity popularized by mining clubs. And according to the 2012 legislative analysis for Assembly Bill 120, the fees associated with obtaining mining permits do not cover the cost of running the mining program. And this means that California taxpayers have been subsidizing a recreational activity that's contributing to declines of native fish and impairing water quality. This subsidy has been over $1.5 million taken from the California Fish and Game Preservation Fund or the general fund, according to that analysis. So for these reasons and many others, the Karuk tribe is here today to urge you to support SB 637 so that we can continue the progress we've made in restoring our fisheries in the Klamath River and preserve the quality of water for all Californians. Thank you very much.
Your testimony. Other people wish to add their name and position of support.
Steve Evans, representing Friends of the River. We strongly support this bill.
Thank you very much, Steve. Yes.
Andrew Grinberg with Clean Water Action and support.
Olivia Regalio, Sierra Club California in support.
Sierra Club in support. Anyone else testifying here in support? Let us move to the opposition. Two primary witnesses, please, on the front table.
One witness will take our entire time.
Okay. Does everyone else know that? Yes. Okay, good. Just checking.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Shannon Poe. I'm the president of American Mining Rights Association. I'm also a property owner, a gold claim owner, and a suction dredger in the state of California. I know I don't look like a typical miner. You can thank my wife for that. She cleaned me up pretty good.
Was that a professional dredger or recreational?
I'm a professional dredger.
Thank you.
There is no
There
such
is no-
thing as a recreational dredge.
Okay,
We don't throw the gold back into the river, so.
like fish, yeah. Got it.
Well, I want to thank you for the time this morning. We have miners all across California represented here, and some of them have driven many, many hours to be here. I know I just drove all the way from Boise to be here, the 9-hour drive. So I'd like to state that just a few short minutes doesn't really allow us to adequately present our side. And I know that a lot of the perception of the small miners is that we're wide-eyed, crazy country folk, and that's just not the case. Most of us are very responsible. We care as much about the water quality and the environment as anybody else, even the folks in support of this bill. Last year alone, just myself, I removed over 15 tons of garbage off of my own mining claims that was dumped by the regular public. I know that because I've actually had to pay for the disposal of that, and I did bring a picture of that. It filled up about 15 trucks. We've been suction dredging in California here since 1944 when Jacques Cousteau invented the aqualung. During the 50s, suction dredging was largely confined to just the major rivers and streams, and we didn't even get 10 years in before the legislator decided that dredging needed to be regulated. And they commissioned a study in 1959, which led to the first suction dredge regulations in 1961. The first section, which is 5653 of the Fish and Game Code. These early regulations set restrictions on salmon-bearing rivers, and I know these folks were talking about salmon here. I do want everybody to know here that about 80% or more of the gold claims in California, suction dredge claims, have no anadromous fish, no salmon, no steelhead. We operated under this set of regulations through DFG until environmental impact report was prepared in '93, and the second set of dredging regulations was issued in 1994, which further restricted the seasons, closed many rivers throughout the state, and further restricted the maximum nozzle size which we could use. We fought for 6 years to reinstate our fundamental rights to again work on claims.
Minerals.
And for nearly 70 years, we've worked without any litigation, and suddenly we find ourselves the subject of constant litigation and legislation. Yet it's important to note that the rivers today are no different today than they were when the suction dredge ban was employed, with one exception. Mercury levels are rising since the suction dredge moratorium. So I want to give you a little perspective. This is actually a suction dredge nozzle, and this attaches to a hose, and what a suction dredger does is it's a vacuum, and it vacuums up the gravels through there. The hose that's actually used on these suction dredges, most people don't know this, but the manufacturer of these hoses, they sell them to us, but also to the Department of Fish and Game. It's the same hose that they use to transport the fish from their stock trucks when they stock a lake or a river or a stream. It's the same hose. There's no turbines or anything inside of a suction dredge. It's all entirely open. I've been dredging since 1972. That kind of dates me. And I have never once yet sucked a fish up a nozzle. They're just too smart from that. Right now, you can see the size of my fist is about the size of a rock that this suction dredge will pull up. We brought a picture here of a dredge on the Klamath River that was taken from an aerial view, but you can't even see it. So we wanted to give you some perspective of just how insignificant a dredge is on a river the size of the Klamath. Right now, we can't even use a 2-inch dredge on our claims. And I brought you a show and tell here. This bottle of gold is worth about $5,000, and it's what I obtained in one day with a 4-inch suction dredge on one of my gold claims out of Yosemite. This amount of gold that's in here is worth about $50. That's the amount that I can average now by not being able to use a suction dredge. So the matter here really is about 637, and it revolves around mercury and the science that they have provided, and I want to address that, as well as this.
Are you going to be here on the 29th?
I don't know, ma'am.
The challenge is other than myself, there's no one on this committee that will be part of the environmental quality hearing that specifically addresses the mercury issue.
Correct. I think that it's important, though, Madam Secretary, so it's just you are the only one that is going to vote on this bill today, is that correct?
No,
Okay.
the bill itself, but it's mostly on the fish and wildlife aspects associated with the impacts of suction draft, not the mercury part of it, which will be in that water quality.
Right, I understand that. In order to address the good senator's comments here about, because this bill is.
Okay, you have a couple more minutes, so I won't interrupt you again if you wanted to use it on that. But I would encourage you to send whatever information you have in writing so we can make sure it's part of that record over there.
Okay. This bill disproportionately affects the poor, and especially the lower and also the middle class, and quite frankly, the elderly. Many of us, and I would question the statistics given earlier, really rely on the gold that they get in the summertime to carry them through the winter. As a matter of fact, I make my entire living off of mining for gold, and we just don't believe that the evidence is there to support 637. I just want to add a couple of facts here, is that according to the only survey conducted of suction dredgers on how much mercury they recover, it equates to over 26 tons of mercury that we've removed since we've been dredging. Now, when you do the math on that in 16 ounces per pound all the way up to 26 tons, under the Sierra Fund and their project that they're doing right now, which is roughly about $7,000 an ounce, that would be a $5.8 billion cost to remove the mercury using the Sierra Fund. Suction dredgers, and this is the statistics that we have provided everybody, remove 98% of the mercury, and that's an EPA study that's just a simple fact. Suction dredges remove 98% of the mercury. The cutter dredge that Sierra Fund uses removes 84% of the mercury. We generate revenue for the state through the permitting process that's already in existence through DFG. So you look at a $5.8 billion cost versus the aspect that it's going to be a revenue generated through the suction dredge permitting process. There's a study that was created by Dr. Michael Singer of the UC Santa Barbara, found in 2013 that mercury was moving from the high alpine areas down to the lower elevations. And the USGS survey shows that measured methyl mercury levels on the South Yuba River have significantly increased since the suction dredge ban. So just in the last 5 years, the mercury levels are going up because the suction dredgers can't get in there to remove the mercury. The simple fact, Madam Chair, is, and I won't go through this whole long process of all of these notes that I've created, is that suction dredges remove the mercury, they remove the lead. I have a picture here that I'd like to show you. This is a gentleman by the name of Alan Trees. He's a suction dredger. This is 1,250 pounds of fishing weights that he removed in 8 hours of suction dredging with a 6-inch dredge. That's in one day. I can't remember how much lead that I have. I think it's probably close to 300 pounds that I've removed, and that's in just one waterway that doesn't have any salmon up out of Yosemite. I have 11 pounds of mercury that I've collected. What we need to create is, we can make this bill better. We can work with the opposition on this. You have enormous numbers of people that are out there suction dredging. If we could get a collection system set up where, you know what, you have your suction dredge miners come in and they turn in the mercury, they turn in the lead, they can generate revenue through the permitting process that already exists. You'll get your rivers and streams cleaned. One last thing that I want to add here is that in the 90s and prior to that, we used to get calls all the time from the Forest Service, and Gold Clubs did. And they would ask us after a giant fire to come in and dredge the rivers because that was what was causing the fish to return. So what we've created is fish habitat. All of this science is there, and we strongly urge you to vote in opposition to this based on the facts that we've provided.
Thank you very much for your testimony. I'm sorry I interrupted you in the middle. Anyone wishing to, just a second, let me get through that, and then we'll open it up for questions of the key witnesses. Anyone wishing to add their name and position of opposition, just for the record? There's no time. Opposition to the bill. Opposition to this bill. Or you can stand up and we can see that. And for our records, I'd see, what, 30 or 40 easily people that have come all this way, probably more than that. Thank you very much for coming. I see this is an important issue to all of you. Right. Now, open up for questions of the witnesses.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you very much for your presentation. You certainly educated me a lot. It seems as though we have to become subject matter experts pretty fast up here on the dais in order to make some intelligent decisions. And I was very impressed by your contention that you pull not just gold out of the ground in the bottom of the rivers, but you pull up other heavy metals. And I understand a little bit of what's going on here. Actually, I was a chemistry major while I was going through school before I became a pharmacist. So 26 tons of mercury removed. That's significant. When you recover lead or you recover mercury, what do you and your colleagues, how do you dispose of it?
Well, that's a good question. I can only speak for myself, and typically there are facilities that will accept that. Basically what I do is I store it because I just haven't sold it. I haven't taken it anywhere. I have a mill site and I actually have a safe storage for it. But that identifies specifically why we need a collection facility or a system in place that people can take this. And I think that if we made, pay them $10 an ounce or $20 an ounce, I think the state would find that it would generate revenue and it would give them an incentive to actually go out and continue to clean the rivers and streams.